just tell us about when people see your defense week one, what do you want them to take away? What do you want them to see? What's your vision?
Yeah, I think biggest thing is just see a group of guys playing with spirit, flying around, playing together, good structure, communication, and a bunch of guys having fun.
Clark mentioned you were the green dot for the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what did you take from that experience kind of into your coaching experience?
Yeah, it was unique. Obviously getting the call from the sideline into the helmet and relaying it to the defense. Especially as a defensive back, sometimes you find yourself downfield covering deep plays, and you got to get back to the line of scrimmage and relay the call to the D-line and linebackers. But I just always prided myself in somebody that was a good communicator and somebody that can align the defense, get the checks right, different things that you have in the game plan. So I think taking that to coaching allows me to communicate well and do those type of things.
Clark said you might be a little bit more of a risk taker than he is. Could you elaborate on that?
I don't know about a risk taker. I just think strategically finding places to utilize pressure and different things like that will be obviously something that I'm interested in, and it's been a part of my career. But all of that stuff goes into a game plan. We'll find the places that we need to do certain things in order to execute and utilize our strengths against the opponent's weaknesses.
How has the depth on defense improved this year from where it was last year?
Yeah, I think drastically. I think, especially up front. We've added a lot of guys to the defensive front, especially in the interior defensive line. But really across the board, we have a lot of players that can go in and play for us and execute at a high level. So we're happy with our depth. We got to stay healthy and just keep getting those guys reps and keep getting guys better.
What's it like the give and take with Clark, given that he's had the reins
Mm-hmm.
for so long, and now he's kind of given the keys?
Yeah, well, we worked really well together last year as well. I mean, we were side by side all the time, coming up with game plans and different things within the structure of our defense, and things won't change. I mean, he's a defensive-minded guy. He's a smart football coach. I'll lean on him at times, and we'll have some really good stuff to conversate about on how we're going to run things.
How do you view your role, kind of generally speaking, in taking over the defense and becoming a lead signal caller? And do you have experience like play calling in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it was alluded to a little bit. I was calling it at the end of the last year, so it's not something that's I think extremely difficult for me. I mean, from my playing days and having a green dot and being a communicator as a player and transition into the coaching world, it's just something I'm comfortable with. And, we'll know the game plan. We'll kind of understand what calls want to be called in certain situations. We'll have to in-game adjust based on what the opponent's showing, and I think it'll be smooth.
When you self-scout the games that you called last year, what did you see that you want to improve? What did you like about what you did as well?
Yeah, I think there were some good things. I mean, obviously, anytime you call a football game, like there's going to be moments of the game that you want a certain call back, or maybe would have done something different. Hindsight's always 20/20. You just got to trust what you're doing in the moment. And at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I mean, it's a player's game. They got to go out and execute, and they can make a bad call look really good, and they can also make a good call look really bad. So we have trust in the fact that our players will go out and play a certain style of football and go execute the calls that are given. And I'll do my best to put them in the perfect situation that I can, and we just live with it.
Coach, how important is Brandon Fontenot for this defense, and where have you seen his game grow from last year?
Yeah, he's extremely important. I think the biggest growth I've seen from him is just his ability to lead and be a communicator on the field. He's getting guys lined up. He's doing a lot of different things. He wears a lot of different hats. I mean, he plays a lot of different positions for us, and he's embraced that. And his understanding of the overall scheme and what other players are doing on the field around him has really grown.
What's Bob Shoop bring to your defensive coaching?
Yeah, Bob's been great. I mean, wealth of experience, knowledge of the game, schematics, and things like that. Giving me little tidbits about things that he went through, his process as a play caller. So it's been good to have him around.
Mark said this is the best team he's coached since he's been the head coach here. Just how do you feel like the defense factors into that? Do you feel like it's markedly better than last year in some ways? Yeah,
I think so. I think we're more talented. Obviously, we've made a lot of gains. I think Coach alluded to it earlier, just in the strength and conditioning area. We're a little bit bigger, faster, stronger than probably we were a year ago. And we have a lot of talented football players. It's hard to compare one year to the next. Every team is different. They're always changing. We'll focus on the guys that we have and what we can do this year and just attack it one day at a time.
Between Langston, Ryan, Nick, and Bryce, there's a lot of production, a lot of experience from that linebacker room. How do you kind of see that room specifically shaping the identity of the defense and kind of the team in general?
Yeah, I don't think it's one specific room that's going to shape the identity of the defense. I think it's going to start up front with our D-line. It's going to trickle to the linebackers and obviously out to the safeties and corners and stuff like that. We have to be physical in the front. We have to play with great technique. We have to get knocked back and reset the line of scrimmage. And then our linebacking group, it's a deep group. We have a lot of good football players there that can make plays. And, those guys will go out and they play for each other, and they got to go out and execute.
Coach Rice mentioned the safety room may not be as experienced as you were last year, but more athletic. Does that allow you to do more things that maybe you weren't able or wanted to do last year?
Yeah, probably. I mean, anytime you get more athletic at a position, especially in the secondary, that's going to allow you to do some things that maybe you couldn't do in years past. Again, that room has some athletic players, young, talented players, guys that can do multiple things, guys that are good blitzers, guys that are good in coverage, guys that can play the deep part of the field. And we'll utilize all of those guys in the best way that we can to try to help us win.
How nice is it to see Marlon's face every day after, missing last season?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, getting those guys back that have been hurt and going through some different things, it's great to see them out on the field and, having fun and contributing and becoming a part of what we're going to do defensively.
Being more athletic in the secondary, does that allow you to be more aggressive? Is that part of the feel there too?
Sometimes in certain situations, yeah. I mean, we'll have a good balance of being aggressive and, making sure we take our shots when we need to, but also playing structured defense. And, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, having 11 guys on the field on the same page, and regardless of what the call is or how aggressive you are, just those guys knowing what their job is and how to execute it.
In practice, what makes this offense difficult to stop?
Yeah, I think I'm tired of practicing against Tim and those guys. I mean, they do a lot of multiple things. I mean, obviously with the triple option stuff and the different ways that they utilize formations and shifts and motions, it makes it extremely complicated. You have to be assignment sound, and you have to understand exactly where the structure is of the defense and how you fit within the puzzle. And they challenge you at times doing that, but it's good because it helps us think about football on a higher level and understand what the exact X's and O's are in each call.
Martell playing both sides, what were those conversations like going back to those with him? And I guess what was your role in those? And,
yeah.
And then what does that look like for him in terms of like how you coach him defensively? I would assume it doesn't change a whole lot.
Yeah, no, we just got to balance out, when he's with the offense, when he's with the defense, how we structure meetings and how we structure, his time on the field. My role in that was like I want him on defense 100% of the time, but he's a good player, man. He'll be able to do a lot of different things for us on both sides of the ball. Obviously, what he does in the punt return game and things like that are dynamic as well. We're just trying to navigate it as we go and make sure that he's dialed into the things that we're doing defensively as they are offensively as well.
Behind Martell, who do you see kind of stepping up in that cornerback group?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of guys that can play. I mean, between Colby Taylor, KT, Jordan Matthews came in. He got banged up a little bit. He's missed a little bit of time. Marlon, Lackey, Caden Daniels is a young guy. Mark Davis is back and playing well. So I feel like we have a lot of guys that can go out and play at a high level, and that gives you a lot of comfort as a play caller and as a coach that you can have multiple guys in the game and still feel like your call sheet is available to you.
In terms of senior leadership, who on this team and this defense in particular really stepped up so far?
So can you say that one more time?
In terms of senior leadership on this team, who has stepped up on the defense in particular?
Well, I mean, Marlo Sewell, he's a natural leader for us. He was a captain last year. He's done a really good job. Issa, I think, has become a really good leader. Corday is another guy that's stepped in and been boisterous and really been a leader amongst those guys. So I think those guys are doing a great job. But across the board, we have a lot of guys, not just seniors, but younger guys that take pride in trying to be leaders, and whether that's by example or by stepping up and saying things that need to be said when accountability needs to be given. So all of our guys embrace the idea of leadership. There are some guys that have a little bit bigger voice at times, though.
Talk to us a lot more than you did in your previous role. How much Belichick media training did you get when you were with Patriots?
No comment. No, those were interesting. It was always, and it's just about putting the team first, and talk about the team. Don't talk about things that you can't control. And he's given me some lessons across the years, but I kind of have my own way of doing things too.
During your time with New England, your defensive coordinator was Matt Patricia. What did you learn from him while you were a player there that you might have brought over to your role as a coach?
Yeah, there's some schematical stuff that we did back then that'll obviously be part of my history and what I am. But the game has evolved so much since then as well. I mean, you're talking, how many years ago was that now? That was 2012. So, but he was a great coach, a great mentor for me. somebody that I can bounce ideas off of all the time. Even as a player, with him being the coordinator, we always were constantly talking scheme, the different ways to do things, and trying to find, the best way to execute a defense. So he's at Ohio State now and coordinating there, and he's a guy that is extremely smart, and I'll bounce some of that stuff into our scheme and see where it correlates and how we'll use it.
You talked a little bit about this earlier, but just how important is kind of that added interior defensive line depth in navigating the wear and tear of the season, especially with a really tough SEC physical schedule?
Well, that's what it is. It's huge because, every single week the teams that you're playing have massive offensive lines. They're physical football teams. You're playing a physical sport. It's done at a high level in this league. So to have drop off from the first line to the second line just makes it extremely hard to sustain against some of these teams. And now that we have the depth, you can rotate guys and feel comfortable about the idea that we can play as fast and as hard as we can play all the time because we have guys that can step in and take reps off of you. So there should never be this feeling of like I have to conserve myself because there's nobody that can go in the game and do it after me. It's like, no, let's just go play as hard as we can and we'll rotate you and keep you fresh and be able to sustain through the year.